Hello, today is July 27, 2021. Olympics, Tokyo Olympics is going on, and lots of emotional drama. I really enjoy, and today is not the exception. And so I'm kind of a little bit overwhelmed with Olympics. But anyway, today I'd like to talk about again this book here, Haruki Murakami's Man Without Woman. And I already talked about the Drive My Car and an independent organ. But between those two, there's a second one is yesterday. And I was telling you about this particular story. I remember when I first read it. It's about a Beatles story that this guy is putting Japanese words and nonsensical words and singing to it. So other than that, I don't remember that much. But this time, again, I read it and my memory is fresh. I like to talk about it. I really like this particular story yesterday. And it's about, I think in essence, it's about bittersweet memory of youth. I think all the young people has to go through this particular thing where when they are young, your hope is high, you dreams a lot, but those things are not materialized. But all the time that this particular difficulty of living is side by side with this optimistic view of future. And so this yesterday, just like I said, it's about the guy who very eccentric person and singing this Beatles song in Japanese. But anyway, this protagonist, I think this author, I think that's Murakami, and met this guy when they are college freshmen during the freshman year, and at the coffee shop that he worked, and he met this guy, and he felt like he's kind of interesting and habits or whatever, because he speaks Kansai dialect, and also himself is coming from Kansai area, Ashia in Kobe, and went to Tokyo and tried to learn the Tokyo standard dialect, I think, very hard. And so it's unusual. This guy turned out to be, he was born in Tokyo, Dengan Chofu area, which is kind of affluent area in Tokyo. And he speaks this Kansai dialect, which is Osaka, Kyoto, Kobe area. It's like a pure train ride, 3 hours south of Tokyo. And so it's kind of unusual that way, because all the dialects that are local dialect is very, very strong in Japan, because for a long time Japan was a closed country, and each area, each district had a tremendous different culture. They established a language is the same way. They have a tremendous local dialect. Sometimes you don't understand, but the Tokyo dialect became a standard, and TVs and radio use Tokyo dialect. Therefore, everybody who are from the countryside understand the Tokyo dialect very much. And so when they come to Tokyo for work, they try very hard to emulate the Tokyo dialect, and that is the same, I think, anywhere, even in the United States. Like sometimes, I think Midwestern English is considered to be the standard American English dialect, but there is a lot of like a Southern accent and Boston accent, and I don't know, maybe California is close to the Midwest, But I used to know the girl from Texas, and she had a Texas accent, trying to get rid of. So it's very common to do that, but in Japan it's much more prominent. Those local dialect is not the accents or anything like that. It's just like the language itself, words itself is different. And so for some people, probably easy to emulate Tokyo dialect, but for me, I came from Kyushu area, and I tried very hard to emulate the Tokyo dialect when I came to Tokyo. But once in a while people say, "Oh, you're not you're not from Tokyo. Where are you from?" They ask that kind of questions, and even now I think I have a tremendous accent, and it's very difficult to completely ignore the local dialect. That's pretty much the same for anybody who is from countryside, and so that kind of associated with like being a little bit ashamed of being from countryside, and that's not a good thing, by the way. But anyway, so this guy speaks other way around. He kind of imitate this Kansai dialect while he was born in Tokyo. So very unusual. And so it's about this guy who does that. And he had this girlfriend and grew up with her, and they considered themselves to be girlfriend and boyfriend all through their school years, and so they really love each other. And so also noticed that this guy failed the entrance exam in Japan, and you have like a one-time opportunity to take this exam, and if you fail that exam, entrance exam, you rather wait until the following year to take it again, or you take another university's exam and to go to that university. And but it's very common to wait 1 year or 2 years sometime to get into the university you really want to go. And but this guy is doing that. I think maybe at this particular point, I think 2 years he failed or something, and so he studied for entrance exam during the day or whatever, but working at the coffee shop, and that's where this author met this guy and became friend, because he was a very nice guy and interesting and very intellectual, and but funny, but kind of eccentric. And so one day this friend suggests that, wow, I have a girlfriend, and still I'm not supposed to play around with the girlfriend because I haven't passed the exam. So he asked the author to take her out. And so I said, "Oh, no, I cannot take somebody else's girlfriend. No way. But he said, well, since I know you better and I feel comfortable, and you could also tell me what she has been up to and so forth. So I want you to do that. So the author reluctantly agreed to meet this girl one day, and so the three of them met and they introduced and so forth. And then he dated only once with this girl, and during the particular dating, a coffee shop or someplace like that, he found out this girl is dating with other guy at the same university tennis club. This girl, went to the university without failure, so that no waiting for another chance or anything. She passed the exam, and she has been very successful, enjoying the college life and studying, and she turned out to be very attractive, like a beautiful girl. He cannot tell this friend that she had already dating with somebody else. She couldn't tell. But anyway, so that was the last time they met. So they parted, and also friends quit the coffee shop, and since then, like 16 years passed, and this author went, working very hard, but I think still single. Went to this particular function or party, and accidentally meet this former girlfriend of his friend, and she is also stunningly beautiful and a successful woman, businesswoman, and age of 36. She never got married, and so they casually talked about all these things, and probably that's about it. And so he asked whereabouts of this friend who quit the coffee shop after a while, and so she told him that he gave up of going to the university and decided to become a sushi chef. And he went to the Seattle, Washington, in U.S. To do some sushi job, and then went to Denver, Colorado. So this friend came to the U.S., went to U.S., and did that. And so we'll say, okay, the story ends there, finding out where he's about. But implication of this short story, to me, it's very, very strong. And I think when you're young, I think you have a dream, you have a life, and you kind of think of friends as she's gonna be or she's gonna be a very, very successful person in future, and they're gonna be very, very happy and so forth, they're very rich or whatever, the part of them is, I think that's going to be true, but part of them it's not going to be true. Of course, the life has a tremendous upside down and changes, and changes itself is very, very normal, and it's abnormal that you don't change or you continuously succeed in doing something or everything. I think that's probably more or less like abnormal, but You know, sometimes some people do, right? Some people became very successful in business or whatever he's doing. But anyway, so that's one implication. The other implication is that when you get older, you remember, you kind of reminisce the time of your life, especially when you're young, when you are probably 20s. I think you tend to remember more because life experiences is much more heavily in that particular time there, even though you're not that happy, but you're young and probably young and you feel like you have a tremendous future, even though you know, the one that you're studying, or even though you're dealing with getting a job or whatever, tremendous uncertainty there, but still you have a tremendously hopeful attitude towards your entire life. And but I think those life, it turns out at the age of 50 or 60 or 70, like me, you reflect on this, and you reflect the time, especially when you are 20s. I don't know why. I think that's for everybody else. It's the same, because that's most peak of your entire life, and but always, without exception, it's a bittersweet, because those things, if you remember, looking back, always some elements of sadness. So this particular story, I think, also probably intended to talk about that, because the title was the Beatles song Yesterday, and so reminiscing yesterday, and the impact of that particular time remains very, very strong when you get older. And that particular notion, I think when you get older and older, still you remember that young, time that you're young and hopeful, and even though you're not happy, still you consider that to be I wouldn't say happiest time, but I would say the most impactful to your own life. And that's how it is important for everybody to know that, when you are like a teenager, for example, to like a 20s, you really have to cherish the life there, even though the time that you are growing up, it's not that happy, it's not that maybe hopeful, but still you remember the most when you get older.